Hello everyone. So welcome to the session 4, part 4 video on the NCERT as it is review of the first physical chemistry chapter in 11th, which is the basic concepts of chemistry. Now those who are looking at this video, right, you can take a look at the previous parts. We have started with part 0, which is like a lot of history and related things about how science and chemistry has evolved. Then we have part 1, 2A and 2B, as well as part 3. So all these we have done previously. If you go through them, means you will have continuity. So what is it that we are going to do in the part 4? So we are going to start with the stoichiometry or the stoichiometric calculations. So in fact, if you remember, right, in one of the previous discussions, when we are talking about these laws of chemical combination, so we mentioned that these stoichiometry principles, right, will be able to help us to better study the chemical phenomena. So previously the only way to understand or the explanation for the chemical phenomena is given by the basic laws, but now we can study the chemical reactions in a better way by using the stoichiometry principles. Not only that, see, in 10th standard, right, we will stop with the idea of balancing of a chemical reaction. Now I am not going to get into the method of balancing because already we did this in 10th. So 10th standard, what do? We will see how we can balance a chemical reaction by using the hit and trial method. In plus 1, right, we will have a chapter called as redox reactions. In redox reaction chapter, we will be learning about how do we balance. I mean, we are going as per the NCERT, that's why. How do we balance the chemical equations in a more scientific manner? So we'll have two methods. One is called as the half reaction method, and the other one will be called as the oxidation number method. Now the thing is, in some state boards, right, especially the state board in Tamil Nadu and all that, we have the redox reaction also merged with the first unit, which is the basic concepts of chemistry. But as per the NCERT, we have these two clearly separated. So in redox reaction chapter, we will talk about the balancing of the chemical equations. Okay, but let's now get into the stoichiometry. So what is this stoichiometry? So I said no, even we will try to understand where is actually this word stoichiometry is coming from. So it is basically coming from stoichion, referring to the elements in Greek. Metron means measurement. So we are basically talking about the measurement of the elements, meaning, we're talking about the measurement of the chemical species. That's what it is. So mostly what we will be dealing with is we will deal with the measurement in terms of number of moles. We will deal with the measurement in terms of mass. We will also deal with the measurement in terms of the volumes also. Okay, so what is it that we will be able to do here? If you have a balanced equation that is given to us, we will be able to analyze the balanced equation in terms of all these dimensions. Let us say we have the balanced equation. Look at this, is it balanced or not? It's what? The balanced equation for the combustion of methane. Look at this. Hydrocarbons, when they undergo complete combustion rate, we will get what? Carbon dioxide and water vapor. When you look at this balanced equation, right, in 10th standard, we know, like, a chemical equation can represent a lot of information. First of all, we will know what are the reactants. What are the reactants? Methane and oxygen are reactants. We will know what are the products? Carbon dioxide and water vapor. So whatever is on the left side is what? Reactant, right side is what? Product. We also will know what is the physical state. If you are putting within the parenthesis, G means what? Gases. S means what? Solid state. L means what? Liquid state. If you put within the parenthesis, AQ means what? This is in aqueous solution. So, like, a lot of things we will know when you are giving a chemical equation. We can even represent the conditions of temperature, pressure. We can represent what is the catalyst. We can represent whether the reaction is releasing heat energy out. In that case, what do we call it as? Exothermic. Exothermic means what? The reaction is releasing heat out. Or if it is absorbing heat means what do we call it as? We will be calling it as endothermic. So we will see, we have a chapter in +1 thermodynamics. In that we will particularly talk about the heat changes in a chemical reaction. But now our task is to analyze a balanced chemical equation. So we will think that already a balanced chemical equation is given to us and we are going about analyzing it. And this analysis is what we are referring to as what? The stoichiometry or stoichiometric principles. But here we are saying we will also talk about the volume part, right? In fact, in the previous part, I think part 3, we have got this word called as molar volume of a gas at STP conditions. So when we are discussing about the mole concept. So I hope you can recall what we have discussed. There is the molar volume of a gas at STP is 22.4 liters. So what is molar volume? It is the volume that is occupied by 1 mole of the substance under what we are referring as the standard temperature and pressure condition. So look at this. This is the new convention that we follow for the STP conditions. What is it? A temperature of 273.15 Kelvin and a pressure of 1 bar. Remember, bar is a slightly lesser pressure than 1 atm. So if you look at these gases, right? Argon, carbon dioxide, dinitrogen, dioxane. Dinitrogen means what? N2. If you calculate what is the molar volume of these gases, you look at them. All these are showing different values, right? That is the reason why we say that these gases, remember, we have used this equation PV is equal to nRT already once. What is this equation going to be called as? It will be called as an ideal gas equation. Means the normal gases, the real gases, so-called real gases, right, will not exactly follow this equation. So from this equation, right, look at this. This is the pressure of the gas. V is the volume. N is the number of moles. R is gas constant. So we learn about this equation in states of matter chapter. T is the temperature on Kelvin scale. If you take the number of moles to be 1, you fix the pressure value 1 bar. You fix the temperature. You take the value of R, gas constant. I am not giving you the values of the gas constant here because that is going to be a little bit too much. But when you actually calculate the volume here, right, for 1 mole of the gas under STP conditions, right, how much it is going to come as? 22.7. The value will be coming as what? 22.7. So this is what will be the molar volume of a gas at STP conditions, the new convention. But one thing that we can clearly understand is the normal gases, right, they will not be able to exactly give us 22.7. They will give us slightly different values. And what is the reason for that and all, we will learn when we go to the states of matter. So the ideal gas, right, is basically the gas that will be able to satisfy what we call as the gas laws. So in states of matter, right, we will talk about the gas laws like, Boyle's law, Charles' law. So the ideal gas will be able to satisfy the gas laws under all conditions. That's what we will be calling as ideal gas. In fact, we will also talk about what are the assumptions of the ideal gas and all that. But yeah, for our calculation purpose, right, we will take the molar volume of a gas at STP is what? 22.7 liters. These values are in terms of liters. So all of these are in terms of liters. But then why is it that we have said 22.4 liters? In the previous discussion, right, we have used the molar value to be 22.4. In fact, when you look at some textbooks, right, NCERT also, some chapters they will say 22.7. Some chapters when you go and see, they might say 22.4. If you refer to some books, they will use 22.4, including past year papers also, right. Mostly you might see the molar volume at STP conditions to be taken as what? 22.4. But these wordings are also from the NCERT book only. In fact, I have taken these things from the states of matter chapter so that we will have a clarity. The thing is, there was a change in the convention. The previous definition of the STP, right, that is used was temperature of 0 degree Celsius, which is same, temperature is same, but pressure was taken as 1 atm. When you take the pressure to be 1 atm, right, the corresponding volume will be different. Look at the formula. If pressure is different means what? The corresponding volume also will be different. You see here 1 atm will be higher, right? If the pressure is higher means the corresponding volume will be slightly lesser. You see here what is it? It will be coming as what? 22.4 liters. So this is as per the previous convention or the STP definition. But since lot of books will not change very often, right? In fact, you might see that some textbooks, I mean, they would not publish them again even after 10 years or so. And even otherwise also, right? Some things which are taken already as a convention, we'll see some reluctance from people in terms of changing it. So that is the reason why you will see that some textbooks, they will use 22.4 liter as the molar volume at STP, which is the previous convention. And you don't have to break your brain as to, like, should we be using 22.4 or 22.7. Like, enough hints will be given to us in problems when you're solving, right, as to which value we have to go with. So we'll see. I mean, at least in this chapter we will not be using about this much. When we go to the states of matter chapter, right, there we will talk about it. Okay, but just to get the idea, what is this molar volume concept, and why in some textbooks you will find 22.4 liter, and why in some textbooks you will be finding 22.7 liters. Okay, so now let's just come back to the equation. This is the balanced equation, right? So whenever a balanced equation is in our hand, we can start the analysis. So the moment you see this equation, right, tell me what is the first thing that will come to our mind. The analysis will begin with looking at this equation, right? We will be talking in terms of the molecules. What do you see? One molecule of the methane will combine with two molecules of oxygen. It will give us what? One molecule of CO2 and two molecules of water vapor. So first thing is what? We will be able to just look at it and we can say what is the ratio of the molecules that is there. Means what? One molecule of methane is combining with what? Two molecules of oxygen. If you multiply it with 10, imagine everywhere it will be multiplied by 10. Means what we will get? If I have 10 molecules of methane, it will react with what? 20 molecules of oxygen. It will give 10 molecules of CO2 and 20 molecules of water vapor. If you multiply this with say 100, everywhere it will be multiplied with what? 100. So then what you will have? 100 molecules of methane will react with 200 molecules of oxygen to give us what? 100 molecules of CO2 and 200 molecules of water vapor. If you multiply this with Avogadro number, like we can keep on multiplying with any number, right? What is Avogadro number? The large number that we know. Now you see what we will say. Avogadro number of molecules of methane will react with what? 2 times Avogadro number of molecules of oxygen. What is Avogadro number of molecules of methane means? That is 1 mole. So 1 mole of methane will react with what? 2 times Avogadro number of oxygen molecules means what? It will react with 2 moles of oxygen to produce 1 into Avogadro number means what? 1 mole of CO2 and what is this? 2 times Avogadro means what? So we are able to get the analysis in terms of number of moles. Okay, see how we are proceeding. The moment you look at it, you will see what is the molecules. Then we will come to moles. When you come to moles, we can from here go to the mass comparison. How? 1 mole of methane means what? 16 grams of methane, molar mass. 2 moles of oxygen. Remember what is the oxygen molar mass? In oxygen we have oxygen molecule, we have 2 oxygen atoms. So it will be what? 32 grams molar mass. 2 moles is there, which is what? Means what? 64 grams. It will be giving us 1 mole of CO2 means what? Molar mass 44 grams of CO2 plus 2 moles of water. What is the molar mass of water? 18 grams. 2 moles means what? 2 into 18 is what? Now you see one beautiful thing. What is it? When we want to talk about the need of balancing an equation, just like that you can represent the equation, right? I mean, instead of putting this factor or coefficient, just to give the information that okay, methane is reacted with oxygen to give us carbon dioxide and water vapor, these factors are not required. But when we put those factors, right, what we will say is this equation is balanced. And we know a balanced equation, number of atoms of each element on either side of the equation will be same. You count it, number of atoms of carbon on both sides will be same. Number of atoms of hydrogen on both sides will be same. Number of atoms of oxygen on both sides will be same. Not only that, balanced chemical equation, right? You look at this, the final, what is the total mass of the reactants? 16 plus 64, what is it? 80. Look at what is the total mass of the products formed. 44 plus 36 is what? That is also 80. So it is satisfying what? Law of conservation of mass. So balanced chemical equation, it satisfies what? Law of conservation of mass. So I'll just erase this and rewrite it so that we'll be more convenient in terms of using. So all these we can call them as proportions, right? We will refer to them as the stoichiometric proportions. So we'll say stoichiometric moles proportion. Stoichiometric, so we'll start with the molecules. All these are what? Stoichiometric proportions. 1, 2, 1, 2. Moles, 1, 2, same. 1 mole of methane will combine with 2 moles of oxygen. What about the mass here? Look at this. 16 grams of this will combine with what? 64 grams. It will be giving us 44 grams of carbon dioxide plus 36 grams of water. This is what? The stoichiometric mass proportion. Means in this proportion they will react. Means for every 16 grams of methane, will require how much amount of oxygen for the reaction to happen? 64 grams. If we mix them in the proportion, right, these proportions are called as what? Stoichiometric proportions. If we mix them in that manner, we are going to get exactly 44 grams of CO2 and 36 grams of water vapor. Now the next one is molar volume at STP. So we can go with the new STP convention. Look at this. Here we have to count the moles, right? 1 mole means what? It will be exactly 22.7 liters. What about the oxygen? 2 moles means what? 2 into 22.7. So 1 mole of methane means what? Exactly 22.7 liters at STP conditions. Will react with 2 times of 22.7. What is it? It will be 45.4 liters. To give us, look at this. 1 mole of CO2 means molar volume at STP. What is it? 22.7 liters. 2 moles of water vapor means what? It will be occupying water vapor. So this is how we will be able to see in terms of the volume proportion. So we talk about the molecules proportion. We talk about the moles proportion. We will talk about the mass proportion. We can also talk about the volume proportion at STP conditions. But this is only when you have the substances to be gases. If the substances are in solution, right, then we will not be able to talk about the volume proportion concept. Okay, so this is how we will be able to analyze a balanced chemical equation, and that is what we call as the stoichiometric analysis. So stoichiometric analysis tells us what is the exact proportion we have to mix the reactants. Means for every 1 mole of methane we require what? 2 moles of oxygen. If you mix them that way, it will also tell us what is the proportion which the products will come. It will tell us that okay, 1 mole of CO2 will come and 2 moles of water vapor will come. It will tell us in what mass proportion we have to mix them. 16 grams of methane you have. Okay, you have to begin with what? 64 grams of oxygen you have to mix. If you mix them like that, means exactly they will completely react to give us what? 44 grams of carbon dioxide and 36 grams of water vapor. Same in terms of the volume also. Now let's look at it. So if you see that as it is whatever we discussed, right, the analysis is giving us what? 1 molecule of methane will react with 2 molecules of O2. It will give us 1 molecule of CO2 and 2 molecules of water vapor. Moles. 1 mole of methane, 2 moles of O2 it will combine with. That is the proportion, stoichiometric proportion. It will give us 1 mole of CO2 and 2 moles of. In terms of volume, molar volume at STP, we are going with what? The new convention. 22.7 liters of methane will react with what? 45.4 liters of O2. It will give us 22.7 liters of carbon dioxide and 45.4 liters of water vapor. In terms of mass, what it is? 16 grams of methane. I mean, all that whatever we discussed, right? That's what is given here. 16 grams of methane will react with what? 64 grams of 2 into 32 means what? 64. Okay, so this is what it is. 16 grams of methane will react with 64 grams to produce 44 grams of carbon dioxide and 36 grams of water vapor. So 44 grams of CO2 and 2 into 18 means what? 36 grams of water vapor. So we can see that we are able to convert mass proportion into mole proportion and mole proportion to number of molecules. Basically, either side. So we start our analysis with the number of molecules, means we can come to moles, and we can also come to mass. We can also from here we can go to what? Volume also, provided when the substances we have in the reaction are actually gases. Okay, so this is what is the stoichiometric analysis. Now I'll just show you one more reaction also, then we will proceed to the examples. Let's say we have N2 gas. This is a very famous reaction. It's called the Haber's process for the manufacture of ammonia. N2 gas will combine with 3 times H2 to produce all our gases. So what is the I'll straight away start with the moles. What is it? 1 mole of this will combine with 3 moles of hydrogen to produce what? 2 moles of ammonia will come. That is the moles proportion. All this we call as what? Stoichiometric proportion. All this we will be calling as what? Stoichiometric proportion. Now let us talk in terms of the mass. 1 mole of N2 means, look at this, N2, the molar mass will be 28 grams. We have 2 nitrogen atoms, right? So 2 into 14 becomes what? 28. So 1 mole means what? Molar mass. 28 grams of the nitrogen will combine with 3 moles of hydrogen. Hydrogen, what is the molar mass? 2 hydrogens are there, right? 2 hydrogen atoms. So molar mass of hydrogen gas is what? 2 grams. So the 28 grams of nitrogen will combine with what? 6 grams of hydrogen gas. It will be giving us 2 moles of ammonia. Ammonia means what is the molar mass of ammonia? 17 grams. So 2 into 17 grams, that is equal to what? 34 grams. Now I want you to observe one beauty here. What is it? It's a balanced equation. When we complete our analysis, if you have 28 grams of nitrogen gas, it will combine with what? Exactly 6. That is the proportion which they will combine. For every 28 grams, we will require what? 6 grams. And based on this, right, we will see what kind of questions can be asked. And if they combine like that, means we will get what? 34 grams of ammonia. Look at this. What is the total mass of the reactants? 28 plus 6, what is it? 34 grams. This is the total mass of the reactants. Only one product is there, ammonia. What is the mass of the product? See here what is happening? Law of conservation of mass. Total mass of the reactants before is equal to what? Total mass of the product after. Let's see some questions. This is a question from the textbook. Calculate the amount of water in grams that is produced by the combustion of 16 grams of methane. Look at this. This is the equation that we already analyzed. I mean, in textbook, right, they will usually give questions on whatever the equation that are analyzed, so that we will be more comfortable. Okay. So look at this. I am straight away writing what is the moles. Moles, what is it? 1 mole of methane will combine with what? 2 moles of O2 to produce 1 mole of CO2 and 2 moles of water vapor. This is in terms of the moles. Now let us write in terms of the mass, the stoichiometric mass proportion. What is the stoichiometric mass proportion? 1 mole of methane means what? 16 grams of methane. It will have to combine with 2 moles of oxygen, means already we have done it. It has to combine with what? 64 grams of oxygen. Okay. And if it is combining this way, means we will get what? 1 mole of carbon dioxide means 44 grams of carbon dioxide will come, and 2 moles of water vapor means what? It will be giving us. Now let's look at the question. Calculate the amount of the water that is produced in combustion of 16 grams of methane. It's, I think, a very straightforward question. We don't have to do anything else. What is it? The stoichiometric proportion is telling us what? If you are doing a combustion of 16 grams of methane, totally consumed, for that how much amount of water vapor we will get? What is the proportion? For every 16 grams of methane we are doing combustion, we will get what? 36 grams of water vapor. That's it. So what is the answer for this? We are going to get what? 36 grams of water will come. That's it. Here we don't have to do anything else. It is a straight question based on the equation. Let's see one more. How many moles of methane? This is a different one. Look at it. How many moles of methane are required to produce 22 grams of carbon dioxide after combustion? Same equation. Equation is as it is. Okay. So look at this. We will start our mole. What is the mole stoichiometric analysis? 1 mole of methane will combine with 2 moles of oxygen to give us what? 1 mole of CO2 and 2 moles of water vapor. This is in terms of the moles. What about the mass? What will be the mass analysis, stoichiometric analysis? 1 mole of methane means what? 16 grams of methane will combine with 2 moles of oxygen means what? To produce 1 mole of CO2 means what? And 2 moles of water vapor means what? I mean, all this we have done in the previous question also, but here the question is different. They are asking something else. What is it? How many moles of methane are required to produce 22 grams of CO2? Okay, this question can be solved in different ways. Look at this. As per the stoichiometric proportions given, to produce 44 grams of CO2. What is it? To produce 44 grams of CO2, right? What is the number of moles of methane required? See how these proportion questions will be answered. Look at this. For 44 grams of CO2, 1 mole of methane is required. But here we want how much? This will be in proportion, like in our 9th standard we will solve questions in math, right? Proportion based questions. Same way. It will be that simple. We are looking for 22 grams of CO2. For this, what is the amount of methane required? In moles. We want the amount of methane in moles. Let us say X. Proportion means what? 44 by 22 is equal to what? 1 by X. Look at it. What is it? Again I am repeating. For getting 44 grams of CO2, we will require what? 1 mole of methane. To get 22 grams, because that is our question, 22 grams of CO2 is what we need. For this, how much or how many moles of methane is required? We will say X. These amounts will be in proportion, means what? The stoichiometric amount of the carbon dioxide, what is it? 44, divided by the given amount. that proportion rate will be equal to what? In case of methane, what is the stoichiometric amount? 1 mole divided by this given amount, or the amount that we are looking for is x. This will be what? X is what? Number of moles. So this is how we have to see the questions based on the stoichiometric analysis. So once you are able to write the stoichiometric proportion values, right, like, you know, what is the mole ratio, what is the mass, if you are able to write these values correctly without mistake, means that's it. After that, the question will be like a 9th standard question, like saying, you know, if one biscuit packet is 10 rupees, in 50 rupees, how many biscuit packets you will get, like that. I mean, these are the kind of questions, right? Proportion questions. Same way here, look at it. So we are looking for the value of x means what? 22 ones, 22 twos. So what is it? 2 is equal to 1 by x. Cross multiply. X will be equal to what? 1 by 2, or that's simple. So all that we need to do is what? First, we have to keep the stoichiometric proportions. Then they are saying for 22 grams of CO2, how many moles of methane we require? From the stoichiometry, what we are getting? For 44 grams of CO2, we will require 1 mole of methane. 22 grams, how much we will require? Proportion. Stoichiometric by given, right? That proportion should be same. That's it. Now the thing is, when you are performing reactions, sometimes what happens is, we may not have the reactants in what we call as the stoichiometric proportion. So what are we saying? We may not have the reactants in the stoichiometric proportion. Meaning what? We'll see. So let's say, for example, we have the I gave the example of the Haber's process, right? What is it? Nitrogen gas combined with what? Hydrogen gas to produce ammonia gas. What we said here, 28 grams of nitrogen. I'm straight away going to the mass analysis. Already we did this, that's why I'm writing, will combine with 6 grams of hydrogen gas to produce obviously 34 grams of ammonia. This is what the stoichiometric mass proportion. Think of it. If I am giving you 28 grams of nitrogen gas and 6 grams of hydrogen, what will happen? They both will completely undergo the reaction. Will they? And this is the thing. Just because we take 28 grams of nitrogen and 6 grams of hydrogen, right? Here in our basic concepts of chemistry, what we will say is these two will be completely reacting to give us what? 34 grams of ammonia. But later we will see, we will go to a chapter called as the equilibrium. There we will see that the reactions may not go for 100% completion. So here we are assuming that what? Reactions are going for 100% completion, right? There we will see that the reactions may not be going for 100% completion. So we'll talk about that there. But here what is the idea we are keeping? Okay, if I am having 28 grams of nitrogen, means for this I will require 6 grams of hydrogen. They completely react means what? I am going to get 34 grams of ammonia. Think of it. If I am giving you, so this is the given mass I am telling you. I am giving you 28 grams of nitrogen. But only 4 grams of hydrogen is given. Then what will happen? Because for 28 grams, we will be requiring what? 6 grams of hydrogen. So we have 28 grams of nitrogen, but in this side we are only having what? 4 grams. So now what is going to happen? This is, we'll say, present in a lesser proportion. What do you say? This hydrogen, right, is present in what? Lesser proportion. Lesser proportion means compared to what? Compared to the stoichiometric ratio. Then what is going to happen is, this hydrogen, right, will be completely consumed. It will be fully consumed. It will be over. and that is where the reaction is going to stop. And we will see that some amount of this nitrogen, right, will be left over, because when we say hydrogen is completely consumed, the some amount of nitrogen will be what, left over. Okay, and this will help us to identify what we call as the limiting reagent. So this is important from competitive examination point of view, because we do get, whether it is a JEE or NEET, we do get often questions on the limiting reagent concept. So what is the limiting reagent? It's a very simple idea. What is it? When you have a substance which is present in a lesser proportion. Lesser proportion means what? Comparing with the stoichiometric ratio. Then that substance will be fully consumed, completely consumed. So that is what we will be calling as the limiting reagent. It limits up to what extent the reaction will be completed. The other ones that will be left over, right, we will be calling them as excess reagent. So we have a limiting reagent and excess reagent. Now the question is, how do we identify which is the limiting reagent? How do we identify? We'll identify, because what is it that we need to do? We have to find out which is present in a lesser proportion than what is as per the stoichiometry. So I'll just show you how do we identify. This is the method that we have to follow to identify the limiting reagent. So look at this, what is the given mass? 28 grams is given for the nitrogen, but we have given only 4 grams for the hydrogen, right? So we have to check which is present in a lesser proportion than stoichiometric ratio, right? Then we have to take a ratio of what is the given amount. Here we are discussing in terms of the mass. You have to take a ratio of what? Given amount by stoichiometric amount. So what is the ratio we have to take? The ratio that we need to check is what? Given amount. So here we are checking this in terms of the mass. We can also check this in terms of moles also. We can also check this in terms of volume. Okay. So always what is the ratio we have to check for? The ratio of given amount by stoichiometric amount. So look at this for the nitrogen, right? What is the given amount here? 28. Stoichiometric amount is what? 28. So what is the ratio coming as 1? For the hydrogen, what is the given amount? 4. Stoichiometric is what? 6. What is it? 2 by 3, which is 0.67, which is in lesser. So wherever the ratio will be, here we have only 2 reactants. Sometimes we may have 3 reactants. Sometimes we may have 4 reactants also. So limiting reagent is the one that will have the ratio to be the least. What is the limiting reagent? The one that will have the ratio to be the least. That is what will be the limiting reagent. And that is going to be completely consumed. The other reactants will be left over. Some amount of that will be left over, right? So we will be calling them as what? Excess reagent. We'll call them as what? Excess reagent. Okay. So now look at it. So if you are performing the reaction with different amounts of the reactants, right, than the amounts that we see as per the balanced equation, means, you know, we are taking the amounts of the reactants to be in a different proportion than the stoichiometric proportion. Then what we will see is that the one that is present in the least amount, that's what, you know, as per the, how do we check which is the one that is present in least amount? Based on the ratio method. This one is going to be completely consumed, and that is what we will be calling as what? The limiting reagent. And once that is fully consumed, right, the reaction will not be able to go any further. The reaction will be stopped. So the limiting reagent, right, is the one that will decide up to what extent the reaction will be going. Means what? These are important. So limiting reagent or the limiting reactant, whatever you want to call it, the limiting reagent will decide, or rather we can say the amount of limiting reagent will decide the extent of completion of a reaction. Means what? if you want to understand what is the amount of the product formed, the amount of the product formed, right, has to be calculated based on what is the limiting reagent amount. Check it. So amount of product formed will be decided by what? The limiting reagent. Not only that, we have a limiting reagent, others will be what? Excess reagent. The amounts of other reactants that is consumed, because how much they will be consumed will also be linked to what? Limiting reagent amount, because whatever is the limiting reagent amount, right, the amount of the other reactants consumed also will be related to that. How we will see with a so we look at this exercise, the textbook question, problem 1.5. 50 kg of nitrogen gas is combining with what? 10 kg of hydrogen. They are mixed, and basically we know that's the Haber's process, right? So we will be able to produce ammonia. Already we have seen the stoichiometric analysis also of this balanced equation. Now look at what is it that they are asking, right? They are asking us to find what is the amount of ammonia formed and what is the limiting reagent in this overall reaction. We know, they are asking the other way around, but first we have to find what is the limiting reagent, because everything will be depending upon limiting reagent amount, right? So first thing is what? We have to find the limiting reagent. So look at this. This is the equation that is there with us, balanced equation. One thing is, before we start doing the analysis, right, just in case, check once whether the equation is balanced or not. Just check it. Yes, it is balanced, because left side 2 nitrogen atoms, right side 2. Left side 6 hydrogen atoms total. Right side is also what? 6. So it is balanced. So the stoichiometric mass proportion, because already we have done the analysis of this, right? Let me just straight away write it. So 28 grams of the nitrogen will combine with what? 6 grams of hydrogen to produce 34 grams of ammonia. This is the stoichiometric proportion. Already we have seen this. Now look at this in the question, right? They are saying everything in terms of what? In terms of the kilograms. So if say for example we will multiply each of them by 1000, right, all the grams will be converting into what? Kilograms, right? So let me just rewrite this one more time here. N2 plus 3H2 gives rise to what? 2NH3. Okay. So the stoichiometric amounts, let me just put the stoichiometric amounts. Stoichiometric amount will be what? I have everything will be now in terms of kilogram, because I have multiplied by 1000. Look at this. 28 kg of this will react with what? 6 kg to produce 34 kg. This is the stoichiometric proportion. But let us see what is given to us. What is the given amount? The given amounts are what? The amount of nitrogen is 50 kg. Amount of hydrogen is what? 10 kg. This is the given amount. Now we need to find what is the amount of the ammonia produced. For that, first step is what? To know what is the limiting reagent. What is the limiting reagent? The one that is present in lesser proportion. How do we know which is present in lesser proportion? We have to find the ratio. So when you take the ratio, right, what is the ratio we are talking about here? The ratio of given amount by the stoichiometric amount. If you take the ratio, whichever reactant is having the ratio value least, lowest value for this ratio, right, that will be what? Our limiting reagent. Because what is the concept of the limiting reagent? The one that is present in lesser proportion. So look at this. What will be the ratio here? The given amount for the nitrogen, what is the given amount? It is the 50 kg. What is the stoichiometric amount? 28. For the hydrogen, what is the given amount? Look at this. What is the given amount for the hydrogen? It is 10 kg. What is the stoichiometric amount? Stoichiometric amount is what? 6 kg. Okay. So we'll have to just do the ratio of given amount to the stoichiometric amount. Okay. So the ratio that we are talking about is what? Given amount, which is 50 divided by stoichiometric 28. What is this? 50 by 28 means what is it? If you cancel, right, to 25 is 2 14s. It will be what? 25 by 14. That is the ratio. What is the ratio on the hydrogen side? Given amount is 10. So 10 by 6 means what? 5 by 3. 5 by 3 means we can say 1.67, 1.66 bar. But we have to conclude between these two, right? Which of them is a lower ratio or a lower fraction? Based on that only we will be able to find out the limiting reagent, right? Sometimes what happens is we can straight away say, okay, this is the limiting reagent like that. But here you see you are not able to really conclude. So what we will do is we will convert this also into the decimal form. 25 by 14. 14 ones is 14, we will get 11. If you put a decimal place means 110. 14 sevens are what? 14 sevens are 98. So 7 you keep. What is this? It will be already we have a decimal 120. 14 eights is 112. So we can have 1.78. You see here what is the ratio here? 1.78. Now what is the limiting reagent? The one that is having a lower value for the ratio, correct? Where is that ratio value lower? It is for the hydrogen case. Look at this. For the hydrogen case, right, what is it? It is 1.67, isn't it? So the ratio is lower for the hydrogen. So which means what? In this case, what is the limiting reagent going to be? It will be the hydrogen that will be the limiting reagent. So the thing is amount of the product formed and the corresponding amounts of the other reactants consumed, everything is based on the limiting reagent. So in this case the hydrogen is basically the limiting reagent. So we are able to conclude one thing. What is it? The limiting reagent for this question is what? It is the hydrogen. It is not over. We have the next part. What is it? We have to find what is the amount of ammonia produced. So let me just write down the reaction here. N2 plus 3H2 gives rise to what? 2NH3. In this, what is the stoichiometric amounts are what? For every 28 kg of nitrogen, it will react with what? 6 kg of hydrogen to produce what? 34 kg of ammonia. But here we are able to conclude what is the limiting reagent. What is the limiting reagent? It is the hydrogen. So everything will be now based on the hydrogen amount that will be fully consumed. So we will just take the hydrogen amount. What is the hydrogen amount? 10 kg. The amount of ammonia found will depend upon this amount, isn't it? So how do we do it? If you have 6 kg of hydrogen, it will be giving us what? 34 kg of ammonia. With 10 kg of hydrogen, all this is like what? Our 9th standard, 8th standard like proportion questions. How much ammonia we will get? Proportion. Meaning what? They must be in the same ratio, which is what? 6 by 10 should be equal to what? 34 by x. So if you cross multiply means x will be equal to what? 340 by 6. That will be equal to what? 170 by 3. That will be 56.67. So 6 kg of hydrogen will be giving us what? 34 kg. But here what is the amount of hydrogen that is consumed? 10 kg. For that, what is the corresponding amount of ammonia we will be able to get? 56.67 kg. Now the thing is, usually sometimes, right, I will also take the text as it is that is there in the NCERT textbook for the problems also. But here the thing is, I mean, they have made a khichdi out of this question. Okay, so instead of pointing the nose straight way, they have taken the hand all the way around and then tried to point the nose. Okay, so that is the reason why I have not given that solution. It's a straight approach. You can follow this. Even there will be some discrepancy in the final answer also. So the answer that they get right will have some discrepancy. So this is how we'll go about solving the questions on limiting reagent. So the importance of limiting reagent is what? Limiting reagent will be fully over, and amount of the product formed. Even in this question, right, they have not asked. If they are asking, we know that okay, we have taken 50 kg of nitrogen, but will all the 50 kg of nitrogen is consumed? No. All the 50 kg of nitrogen will not be consumed, right? We said what? The amount of the other reactants that are undergoing reaction, That amount also will be decided about, it will be decided, or it will be related to the limiting reagent amount. See how we will conclude it. For every 6 kg of hydrogen, it will have to react with what? 28 kgs of nitrogen. Here what is the limiting reagent? That is the one that is fully consumed. 10 kg of hydrogen, right? For that, what is the corresponding amount of the nitrogen that will be reacting? It will be also same proportion. So this is how we will find what is the amount of the nitrogen that is reacting. This is how we can find what is the amount of the nitrogen that is reacting. So look at this, it will be in proportion, meaning what? 6 by 10 is equal to what? 28 by, let me call it as, we call it as Y. This Y is what is the amount of the nitrogen consumed. So you cross multiply, Y will be equal to what? 280 by 6. That will be a 140 by 3. We can simplify in terms of kgs. So what is the amount of nitrogen that is initially taken? 50 kgs. In that, only 140 by 3 is the one that is consumed. So we can even find what is the amount that is left over. So if they are asking question like, what is the amount of nitrogen that is left over, means whatever is the initial amount we take, 50 kg, minus whatever is the consumed part, that will give us what? The leftover amount. In this question they have not asked it, but sometimes they can also give questions like that. Okay, especially in JEE or NEET, you might expect questions like that. Okay, so this is about the kind of problems we'll have on the limiting reagent. Maybe you can also try and solve, you have to definitely solve some questions, then only you will get the comfort of the limiting reagent based problems. So when you are performing reactions, right, if you just have that chemical substance which is undergoing reaction, that is okay. But usually what happens is we will have the chemical substance that is undergoing the reaction as a part of the mixture. Like say for example, we have a mixture of 3 components A, B, C. In that B is the one that is undergoing the reaction. Then we will be interested to know in the entire mixture amount what is the relative amount of B. This is also what we will be referring to as the concentration. What is the concentration of B, or we will call it as what? The relative amount. So this will give us an idea. If you take some mixture, in that what is the relative amount of B that is there, because our focus is only on this one, right? This is the one that is going to react. We are not focusing on the others. So to express the relative amount of the substance that we are focusing on, because in a mixture we will have like different components, right? Let's say component B is what we are focusing. We can tell what is the relative amount of B in the entire mixture. And for doing it, we will be using something called as concentration terms. So what we will be referring to them as concentration terms. Generally we will use the concentration terms for any mixture, but the thing is, if you have a heterogeneous mixture, right, ABC heterogeneous mixture means we can easily separate them out and take the B and then take it to the reaction. So heterogeneous, usually we can separate the components, so this concentration term will be more relevant in case of this homogeneous mixtures, because we may not be able to easily separate them. You may still have A and C components also and B only reacting. So the concentration terms, right, we will use them. We can use them in the case of heterogeneous mixtures also, but more prominently they will be useful in the case of the homogeneous mixtures. Homogeneous mixtures, remember, we can also call them as what? Solutions. Okay. So again, the thing is, the concentration terms, we will be having the same discussion in one more chapter in +2. So we have solution chapter in +2. In that chapter also, right, 12th standard, we have solutions. In that chapter also, we will again discuss about these concentration terms concept. In solutions, right, we will be mostly focusing on what we call as the liquid solutions. Means what? You have the medium as the liquid. In that, You may dissolve a solid, or you may dissolve a gas, or you may dissolve another liquid itself. So all these solutions, right, where the medium is a liquid, we call them as what? Liquid solutions. So in 12th standard solution chapter, we will be mostly focusing on what? The liquid solutions. Okay. So now coming to here also, right, when you look at the reactions which are happening in solutions, we will use these concentration terms. What are the concentration terms? They will tell us what is the amount of the substance that is present in a given volume of the solution or a given amount of the solution. So basically we are talking about what? The relative amount in the entire solution, because solution is nothing but a mixture. In the entire solution, the component that is going to react, most of the cases it will be what? Solute. Remember we said in a solution, right, we'll have what? There will be one solvent and you may have one or more solutes. Usually the solutes are the one that will be undergoing the reaction. So what are these concentration terms? Basically, you know, we have 4 of them that are discussed here, but in NCERT. But we will also add a couple of more because they are also useful for us in making sure that we are thorough with this idea. Like look at this now, what are these concentration terms? We talk about the mass percentage or the weight percentage. We'll see each of them. What is the definition? How do you define them and all that? So here the thing is, just like we have mass percentage, generally the mass percentage will be done in case of these mixtures where we have solids. Generally, I mean we can use it anywhere also, but most of the cases, right, mass percentage will be used when you have the components as solids. Similar to that, we can also have volume percentage. That is not given here, so I can call it as what? 1A and 1B. 1A is what? Mass percentage. Just like that, we can also have volume percentage. This is mostly relevant for the liquids, because if you go to lab, right, you have solid reactants, you will put them on analytical balance and you just get the mass. You have a liquid, you have the measuring jars and you will usually be able to measure the volume easily. So in case of the liquid mixtures, right, we will rather go with what? Volume percentage. Then we have something called as mole fraction. This is a very important one. We will see why it is also important. Then we have molarity and molality. Then others I have mentioned, right. We will talk about something called as normality. So mostly if you look at questions in past year JEE or NEET, you will keep seeing this word normality. Then we have something called as parts per million or ppm. We will see all of this. Okay. So we will just start discussing with the mass percentage. If you have a mixture, you have say for example, I will go with the same discussion, 3 components. You want to find what is the mass percentage of A. So you will say mass of the component A divided by total mass of the mixture into 100. That's it. That will give us what? Mass percentage of the component A. Mass percentage of component B will be what? Mass of the component B divided by total mass of the mixture into 100. Mass percentage of the component C will be what? Mass of the component C by total mass of the mixture into 100. So if you have a solution, right, you want to give mass percentage of solute. What is it going to be? Mass of solute by total mass of the solution. Here mixture means what? Solution, right? Mass of solute by total mass of solution into 100. That's it. We'll see one sample question. It's a textbook question. Solution is prepared by adding 2 grams of substance A to 18 grams of water. So now what will be the total mass? Total mass of solution is what? 2 plus 18, it will be what? 20. They're asking what is the mass percentage of the solute. What will be the mass percentage of solute? Mass of solute here is the one that you are dissolving in water, right? Mass of that solute A divided by mass of solution. Solution means what? Look at it. What is it? 2 plus 18, total is what? 20. So look at this. 2 by 20 into 100. How much it is? 10%. So this is what is the mass percentage. And where do we generally use it? We will use it when you have, when generally I am saying, you will use it when you have the components to be solids. The other one, remember what we said? We said this is a 1A. The other one is 1B, which we called as what? The volume percentage. So it will be what? If you want to give volume percentage of say component A, it will be equal to what? Volume of the component A divided by volume of the total mixture into 100. Just like the way you do mass, you will do the volume, that's it. Now the other important concentration term, we have mentioned about it, because when you have the study of the chemical reactions, right, the stoichiometric analysis, remember one thing, whatever analysis that you do based on number of moles, or rather number of particles, that is going to be always accurate. Whenever we talk about the mass analysis, it will always have an issue because of the isotopes. Remember, even the stoichiometric analysis, right, when we talk about the mass, we will always have an issue with the isotope, because if we say molar mass of hydrogen, we have been using it as what? 2 grams, because we are referring to the isotope of hydrogen, which is the protium. But if it is deuterium, then the molar mass will be different. If it is a tritium, then molar mass will be what? Different. So whatever analysis you do on mass will always have issue because of isotopes. So the analysis that you do on the number of moles or number of particles, it will be always going to be accurate. And that is where the importance of the mole fraction comes. Because mole fraction is what? In a mixture, right? Like, if you have component A, the number of, it's a mole fraction. The number of moles of A divided by total number of moles of the mixture or solution. Say for example, we have in that mixture, we have 2 components. A is dissolving in B, means what? We can call A as a solute, B as a solvent. So only 2 components are there. Number of moles of A is Na, number of moles of B is what? Nb. So mole fraction of A, we can represent it like this. It's not X, we will spell it as what? Chi A. So chi A will be what? It's a representation for the mole fraction of A. What is it? Number of moles of A by total number of moles of mixture. Fraction, that's it. What will be the mole fraction of B? You can write it like what? Chi B. Number of moles of B by total number of moles of the mixture or the solution. You can see one thing, in a mixture, right, the sum of the mole fractions, here we have 2 components. Sum of the mole fractions means what? Mole fraction of A, which is Na by Na plus Nb. Mole fraction of B is what? If you add them up, take the LCM, in a mixture, if you have 3 components, add up all the mole fractions, it will be adding up to what? 1. If you have 4 components, add up all the mole fractions, we will get what? 1. So when you add up all the mole fractions in a mixture, right, they will be adding up to what? 1. Like, we can even use this in, we can even give this as a sample question. Let's say we have a mixture of 3 components A, B, C. In that the mole fraction of A is 0.4, mole fraction of B is 0.3. Then if I ask you what is the mole fraction of C, right, can we tell it? We can. Why? Because if you have mixture of only 3 components, right, sum of the mole fractions 0.4 plus 0.3 plus mole fraction of C, that will be adding up to 1. What is 0.4 plus 0.3? 0.7. So 0.7 plus mole fraction of C is equal to 1, means mole fraction of C is equal to what? 1 minus 0.7, that will be equal to what? 0.3. So this is how we will be able to find the mole fraction of a component if you know the mole fractions of the all other components. Now we can even try and do one sample question on the idea of the mole fraction itself. Okay, so let us say we have because we don't have any in-text questions, that's why we are trying to do some questions by ourselves. If you have a mixture which is having I'm just taking some example, 8 grams of methane and that is having 32 grams of oxygen. Two gases are mixed. The question is what is the mole fraction of methane? Always know, as I said, chi subscript the name of the compound. So for this, what we have to do, number of moles of methane by number of moles of methane plus number of moles of oxygen. That is the formula, right? So now what we need to find, we have to find what is the number of moles of methane. Number of moles formula will be what? The given mass by molar mass. What is the molar mass of methane? 16 grams. So half. We can also find what is the number of moles of oxygen. Given mass is what? 32 grams. What is the molar mass of oxygen gas? 32 grams. 1. So half by half plus 1 means what? Half by 3 by 2. So mole fraction of methane is what? 1 by 3. I can ask you one more simple question. What will be the mole fraction of oxygen? Because if mole fraction of methane is 1 by 3 means only two components are there. Mole fraction of oxygen will be what? 1 minus 1 by 3, it will be 2 by 3. Okay. So if mole fraction of methane is 1 by 3 means what will be the mole fraction of the oxygen going to be 1 minus, because they both should add up to 1, right? Mole fraction of methane plus mole fraction of oxygen will add up to 1. So this is what 1 by 3 means. Mole fraction of oxygen will be what? The 1 by 3 will go that side. 1 minus 1 by 3. It will be equal to what? 2 by 3. So this is how we can have questions based on the mole fraction. Next we have these kind of concentration terms, right? So they are going to be very useful for us. Not only, I mean, in this basic concepts of chemistry discussion, but we will see in the other physical chemistry chapters also. What is it called as? Molarity. Okay. So as you can see, it is widely used. And molarity is measured as number of moles of solute. See here, what is the, usually I said, right, the substance that will react is the solute that will participate in the reactions. We are looking at what is the number of moles of solute in terms of count, divided by the volume of solution in liter. It basically gives what you know, the number of moles of solute present in 1 liter of solution. Number of moles of solute present in 1 liter solution. Like I say, for example, we are having 2 moles of solute that is present in say for example 10 liter of solution. Means what will be the molarity? 2 moles divided by 10 liter. What is it? 0.2 moles per liter. This is also what we can call as what? Molar unit. Molarity unit. Capital M is the symbol. So what is this capital M meaning? Capital M represents what? Moles per liter. And we can keep one thing here. It is not a SI unit because the volume is taken in terms of what? Liter. Volume is not taken in terms of the meter cube. Okay. So this is about the discussion on the molarity part. Okay. Now let's look at a question. It's also an in-text question. What is it? Calculate the molarity of sodium hydroxide in a solution prepared by dissolving 4 grams of this in enough amount of water to form a 250 ml solution. So here, right, what is the volume of the solution here? 250 ml. But in the molarity formula, we want the volume in liter, right? 250 ml means what? Convert this in liter means what? Divided by 1000. That will be what? 0.25 liter. Look at this. Molarity is what? Number of moles of solute by volume of solution in liter. Number of moles of solute, how do you get? We have 4 grams of sodium hydroxide, right? What is the number of moles formula? Given mass by the molar mass. So what is the given mass of sodium hydroxide? 4 grams. What is the molar mass? 40 grams. That is the number of moles. So number of moles is what? 4 by 40. Divided by what is the volume of solution in liter? 0.250. So 4 by 40 means what? 0.1 divided by 0.250. So this you can write it like what? 1 by 2.5 molar unit. Always a molar unit is what? Capital M. 1 by 2.5 means what? It will be 0.4. Okay. So it's not mole inverse. It's actually moles per liter. I mean, there can be sometimes typos in the textbook, but yeah. So what is it? You have to say either 0.4, either of them. So you have to say either 0.4 moles per liter, that is also correct. Or you have to say it as what? 0.4 capital M, molar unit. Okay, so this is how we will talk about the measurement of the molarity. Now the thing is, when you look at the concentration terms, right, this can be a question. In fact, in one of the previous year also, both in engineering side as well as the medicine also, this question has come. Which of the concentration terms will depend upon temperature and which will not depend upon temperature? Wherever we get this volume, right, because remember, volume can be changed. So wherever we will have the volume will be changing depending upon the temperature. In fact, you will study about this in, I think you will have a chapter in physics called as thermal properties of matter, where you will talk about the expansion and all these things. So yeah, point is, whichever concentration term is having the volume part, that is going to be depending upon the temperature. And usually, right, if you want to be more accurate, because say for example, I have a chemical substance that is there manufactured in say for example cold country, we are sending it to India. If you give a concentration term that is involving volume, when you measure the concentration term in a cold country, you are measuring it with a different volume. By the time it is coming to India, different temperature zone, the concentration term which is having volume, right, that will be changing because volume will change based on temperature. So we will try to avoid them. We will rather try and give the concentration terms which do not have volume involved, and those, right, will not be affected by the temperature changes. We can see the list also. Okay, so we'll see, once we complete the discussion, we will see the list also. What are all the concentration terms that will depend upon temperature and what will not depend upon temperature. The other one is molality. So previous one is what? Molarity. It is what? Molality. What is this? This is measured as the number of moles of solute present in 1 kg of a solvent. It's not a solution, it is what? 1 kg solvent. So how do you measure it? Number of moles of solute by mass of solvent in kgs we should have. This is given in terms of the molality unit, small m. What is the molality unit? It will be what? Always small m. Okay. So let us say for example we have 2 moles of solute which is present along with some 4 kg of solvent. Then how do you measure the molality? It will be what? Number of moles of the solute divided by mass of the solvent in kg. It will be what? 2 by 4 means 0.5, small m we will keep. Molality unit. So what is molality unit? Means moles per kg. Okay. So this is about the another concentration term which is molality. Now you can tell whether this will depend upon temperature or not. See, is there a volume term involved here? There is no volume factor, right? It is what? Number of moles of solute by mass of solvent in kg. Mass, no volume. So it will be, what is it? Independent of temperature, because the temperature itself is not at all coming. Okay. So even if you look at the mass percentage or mole fraction, what is mass percentage formula? Mass of the component by total mass of mixture into 100. Volume does not come. Mole fraction, number of moles of the component by total number of moles of the mixture. Volume does not come. So they are also what? Independent of temperature. So molarity, the previous one, what is it? The molarity rate. Molarity is the one that we have seen will be what? Depending on the temperature. And we will see, in the additional section of the next video, right, we will talk about the other concentration terms, and also, not just discussing about the concentration terms. So in the next video, right, it's going to be kind of additional one, because more or less we are done with whatever is there in the NCERT. We look at other additional concentration terms, and also we will talk about the idea of conversions. Meaning what? Suppose I have a mixture that is given to me. They are telling me what is the mass percentage of the component A in that. But maybe for my calculation, right, I might require a mole fraction for my calculation. So from the mass percentage data, can I find what is the mole fraction? This is what we will be calling as conversions. If you have one concentration term in your hand, can you use it to find the other concentration term? So we'll also look at the conversion part. But again, right, this is something that we will be studying in detail when we go to the +2 solution. But the thing is, in our NCERT textbook problem, right, they have given a question on the conversions. Okay, so that anyway that will come in detail in +2. As I said, the liquid solution chapter. We'll again talk about all the concentration terms, including the additional ones, and also we'll have questions based on the conversions also. But since doing it here will be able to give us more clarity, right, we will complete it here as an additional section, so that even when we're preparing for JEE mains or advanced or NEET, right, we'll be more comfortable in terms of tackling those problems. Okay, so we'll see in the next session. We'll talk about all these things.